They say it's the most magical place on Earth. Still, it's not very magical if you can't get in. And that's exactly what is happening to the biggest fans of the Walt Disney World Resort. Annual pass holders who have often paid by far the most amount of money you could ever imagine for getting into a theme park anywhere. Well, the turnstiles are not moving for them. For the next 3 days, it is going to be exceedingly difficult for annual pass holders, those who have paid over $1,000 to get into Disney World. We'll tell you why, and we'll show you that Disney may not be respecting those APs anymore. Hello, folks. Welcome back to the happiest place on YouTube, of course. It's a zippity-doo-dah kind of day right here, and we've got Vash Sky joining us as well. Vash, is Mr. Bluebird on your shoulder?
I think he is. Well, wait a minute. Hang on. That's him.
I think so. Well, I couldn't tell if that was a bluebird or an orange bird, but I like a bluebird for this situation. So, Vash,
Absolutely.
Welcome back. Today we're talking about the situation with annual pass holders. And in particular, Vash, I'm very interested in those who are out of state. So, although the ones who reside in Florida are important, in terms of this video right now, we're specifically going to be targeting those who have paid that very high level, and they're out of state, coming in often with a great journey, whether it was, who knows, maybe they're from New York State, they could be all the way from the West Coast,
right?
Maybe they're out of Chicago, we don't know, but take a look at this as we go to wdwmagic.com, and here's the article. Theme park reservation woes, Walt Disney World pass holders hit with 3-day dry spell. So what's that dry spell? Well, let's explain. Walt Disney World annual pass holders are facing a rough start to 2024 with 3 consecutive days of no availability for theme park reservations at any of the parks. According to the official Walt Disney World reservations calendar, all 4 parks are at capacity for annual pass holders from January 5th through January 7th, 2024. In addition, Magic Kingdom is fully booked for pass holders on January 4th. Now, Vash, imagine that you had planned to come down either for the New Year celebration or for the marathon weekend, and imagine that you're a pass holder and you've spent $1,400 and for an entire family. There's no telling how much money you've spent on this. You've paid for hotel accommodations, and then you get down to Orlando and you find out that despite the thousands and thousands of dollars you've spent, you can't get in. They don't want you. That's a real problem. Vash, before we read the rest of the article, is this shocking to you at all that the highest paying, most loyal customers to Disney are being treated this way?
I'm a little surprised it's following the holidays. Usually we see, periods at which you can't necessarily get a reservation, either during the holidays or right before those last 2 weeks kind of thing. At Disneyland, this is a far more common occurrence than at Walt Disney World, but I am surprised that this is happening at Walt Disney World at this time. It's been one of my criticisms of the annual pass holder program, in particular, whether it be Magic Keys or the AP system at Walt Disney World, because they have no way of delineating between guests that are out of state, guests that are in state, what proximity they are to the actual theme parks. If there was a prioritization system, I would think that if you're coming in from one of the biggest markets for Walt Disney World on an annual basis, being Pennsylvania or New York or the tri-state area, that priority would favor you if you were coming in versus the annual pass holder who might be dropping in, once a week that lives in Central Florida.
Right, and you got to think these people are going to be very, very frustrated. I can't imagine not being very, very frustrated. Let's take a look now, Vash, at the rest of this article. Currently, Disney is continuing to offer day tickets on these days. So let me explain this, because this is where my temperature rises just a little bit, because I'm annoyed on behalf. And there are probably people watching this video right now who are looking at this situation. They're irritated, and I'm irritated for you. Let me explain this. When it says Disney is continuing to offer day tickets on these days, that means they can't be at capacity. If they're offering day tickets, that means that they're blocking annual pass holders out,
right,
while they're still selling more tickets. And for those annual pass holders, remember, we're not talking about blackout days. We're not talking about blockout days. We're talking about, these are days they intended to come down. It's in between New Year's and the marathon and leading into the marathon. So that's why it's so crowded. And yet we've also talked about how in reality, these are not the crowd levels we once saw. This is a new diminished capacity that Disney World has instituted post-pandemic, as they are aiming for higher income guests, and they want to take advantage of that, but they do not want to necessarily, they're not interested in having annual pass holders, because annual pass holders don't necessarily spend the amount of money that they want to have spent. And so that's a real problem for them when they're trying to get every dollar they possibly can out of the pockets, out of the wallets, out of the purses of the people who are there. It says, note that on days when reservations are at capacity, annual pass holders may still visit the theme parks after 2 p.m. without a theme park reservation, except, and this is what's amazing, these are the days we're talking about, except on Saturdays and Sundays at Magic Kingdom. You should also keep watching the Park Pass reservation calendar as more capacity may be added.
Yes.
Vash, how would Disney go about adding capacity? Either you're at capacity or you're not at capacity. What's this talking about?
Yeah, so this is a strategy as dreamt up mostly by the guys over there in Team Disney Anaheim, because they have obviously an annual pass holder problem that is far more, let's say, imbalanced than Walt Disney World. Walt Disney World, because you guys have 4 parks, and and the Central Florida visitation patterns are such that you don't have necessarily as many annual pass holders as you do daily visitors. In Disneyland, that paradigm is definitely reversed. You have a way more annual pass holders to deal with than regular day tourists, and so people might be confused. It's like, well, wait a minute. If somebody's paying $1,500 for a pass, why aren't they necessarily being prioritized? Well, it's because depending on how many times you actually visit, you might be spending anywhere between $20, $30, maybe $50 a day, versus a tourist coming down and buying a day ticket. They might be spending like $70, $80, or maybe even $180 to actually be in there that day. So if your parks are very limited capacity, and you had your choice to favor the person who is paying $180 a day versus the people who are maybe paying $30 a day, well, you can see where you'd want to delineate between the two. And so that's why the reservation system was kind of this ingenious way of delineating between the two factions. What they basically do is they basically have set up a system in which they have different buckets for which they distribute capacity for. So I don't know what the ratios are per se, but what if 30% of your capacity you just have for the annual pass holders for their reservation system, and then for ticket holders you have maybe 70% dedicated towards them and their reservation system. So you could look, this happens at Disneyland Resort all the time, where people look on, for the Imagine Key or the Inspire Key or whatever, they look and they see that there's nothing available for them necessarily on the given day that they want to go, but that there's all kinds of capacity available for regular day ticket holders. And that is the mouse determining who is going to be the bigger spender and who they necessarily want to let in that day. Now, how does that change as we get closer? Well, it becomes very clear if they can't necessarily sell out the park for day ticketers, then they'll adjust that ratio. So maybe they go from a 30-70 to a 50-50, and even move it even more depending on how the sales for those tickets are actually going.
All right, great points all, Vash. Exactly what I'm thinking too. That said, if we take a look here at the end of WDW Magic's article, it says Disney plans to introduce a new good-to-go days for Walt Disney World annual pass holders starting January 11th, where annual pass holders may enter the theme parks without needing a reservation. Right. However, it would seem likely that even with the new system in place, busy periods like this weekend would not be included, and reservations would still be required. And my issue again comes back to, listen, if the parks are at capacity, that's capacity.
Right.
If you're still selling tickets, and yet you won't let in the people who spent by far the most amount of money, I don't care if annual pass holders spend less per annual pass holder on merchandise. I don't care if they spend less on individual lightning lanes. They spent $1,400 per person to get the annual pass. And they're your most loyal fans. They're the most likely ones to bring in others who don't have annual passes but want to come experience the parks with them. Why are you mistreating them if you're the Disney company, in my estimation? Vash, why is the company doing this?
Like I said, it's it's kind of this Disneyland Resort mentality. Obvious if there's an imbalance and they want to necessarily prioritize those day ticketers because they necessarily spend more money. And if your capacity is limited, that's how they can delineate between the two. It's interesting because you're not the only one that actually feels this way. Actually, internally, I can tell you right now, within the company, and especially within the parks division, this is also a point of contention, especially for like epcot managers, because from their perspective, it's like, well, the annual pass holder system was even introduced in the first place, starting with Epcot in the 1980s, because they wanted to make sure they filled those restaurants that they have on property. And they've kind of always taken that approach. So when they limit capacity severely for annual pass holders specifically, that makes it kind of difficult to fill those restaurants and bars and so forth. It kind of adds this chaos element for the economy of that park specifically. So they've actually advocated for these reservations to be removed across the board, versus like Disney's Hollywood Studios, for example. They're very much like, well, if we don't limit in some way, people are just going to overrun our park. And honestly, that goes back to years of this mentality of, well, Walt Disney World is a place where we take money out of, but not necessarily the park that we put money into.
Well, if you've only got 12 attractions like they have at Hollywood Studios, I'm being a bit facetious, but it's pretty close. Then yeah, you can be easily overrun. It's called, hey, maybe you should have more things to do. Vash, if capacity is such an issue, then all of a sudden we can't let in annual pass holders, even, by the way, when others can get in.
Right.
If that's such an issue, why is Disney World not expanding? If there's demand for more consumption, why aren't they creating more supply? What's going on here?
Disney has kind of taken this approach where their capital expenditures, right? They're really kind of iffy on how to spend that money.
Turbocharged, Vash, turbocharged. I thought we were going to be building all kinds of stuff. All I see is, by the way, for all that turbocharged talk, all I see is Tiana's Rainforest Cafe Adventure. I don't see what else is coming.
Well,
it's not blue sky nonsense.
Well, and that's the thing, right? So a lot of people believe that maybe Animal Kingdom might be the benefit of an expansion in the form of a redone area like Dinoland. But
who
what
cares
people
about
don't,
Animal Kingdom? Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios are what needs space. Why are we not building?
I agree with you, but even in Animal Kingdom's case, they're not necessarily adding capacity. They're redoing an attraction that already exists and maybe adding in a Kanto walkthrough or something. That's gonna be meaningless. I do agree with you. Disney Hollywood Studios absolutely needs an expansion, they were on that kind of timetable there, that where they were going between the parks and so forth, and Disney Hollywood Studios should be up next, but unfortunately we haven't heard anything in the way of that. And Magic Kingdom, by the way, we don't know if this Villain's Land or Beyond Big Thunder is actually going to come along.
They need a Wish themed splash pad at Animal Kingdom. 100%. That's exactly what they need. Wish Wondrous World of Water. Let's do it. We'll set up a virtual queue. We'll only run it from 9 a.m. until noon. It'll seem super popular. Vash, why aren't we on the phone right now with Imagineers? This is the ticket for them.
Right. Well, hey, that park gets hot, but I think they need a little bit more than
You're exactly right, Vash. You've helped me see the light. Let's find an interior space where there's air conditioning, bulldoze it to the ground, and then put the Wish-themed splash pad there. Well said, Vash.
Well, and just by the company's logic, make sure that whatever you bulldoze is something that fans love, and then build over it, and then that way we can go ahead and increase
a fountain anywhere in Animal Kingdom we could knock down? Something beloved? I don't know. We'll find one. Don't worry, folks. There's a fountain somewhere beloved in Animal Kingdom, and we will assist Disney in identifying what could be destroyed, which is not yet.
But this is also the fundamental problem here. It's not about just adding capacity, right? It's about adding attractions that people actually want to come down and see. And in light of the whole Central Florida corridor of theme parks, adding all kinds of attractions like SeaWorld, for example, or even Universal with their new Epic Universe and the plethora of attractions that they're going to be adding on. The problem is not only capacity, but demand. And to generate or incur that demand, you really do need new attractions to open up. And honestly, we're not getting anything, folks. I mean, not anything for the next 5 to 6 years. So we're not adding capacity.
Say it again, Vash. 5 to 6 years. Tiana's Rainforest Cafe Adventure. That's what we've got.
That's it. And that doesn't add any capacity.
That'll battle Epic Universe. Annual pass holders. If they kick you out, just go to Epic Universe when it opens. Let's go do that. I bet Mario will welcome you with open open arms and a mushroom. And, who could say no to that? So
Right.
Anyway. Well, Vash, you've been doing a great job over on That Park Place, the YouTube channel. Fantastic work. Of course, your coverage of theme parks is unparalleled. So what stories can we expect beyond this AP situation?
Well, we'll be talking about. I know Jonas and Lorena actually did a deep dive into the the dining plan discount right there. They have some fascinating things to say on that end. We're also going to be providing shows about Value Act and Disney getting into bed with them and what ramifications that might actually have for the company and for guests at large. We're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff for 2024. So guys, you do not want to miss out on that content. Make sure you just subscribe to That Park Place for all the news. That should be fun.
That's right. And if you're an annual pass holder watching this video, stuck, unable to go to the parks that you thought you would be attending, my recommendation is make the best out of a very bad situation. And bad, that's what we're saying to the mouse. You're a bad mouse right now. But folks, make the best of it. Go over to BOMA, use your AP discount for breakfast and dinner, and carb up for the marathon. You may gain 20 pounds in the process, but at least you'll have a good time.
And if you really want to get in there,
like this,
just make sure you look at that reservation calendar. These things do tend to open up as we get closer. Just a point of.
Good Lord, Vash has made a great point. They may actually look and see you're an annual pass holder and refuse your attendance at Animal Kingdom Lodge. Oh, it never ends. All right, folks, if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe. When you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. Annual pass holders, are you frustrated, or do you think this is just, hey, this is part of the experience? It'll be okay. We'd love to hear from you. And folks, as always, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
What are you doing?
Well, you see, I wanted to get some inside scoops on Disney and their different corporations, if you know what I mean. So I figured by looking into this fistbowl and sucking it randomly with my own energy that I pay for, you paid for, I could do the whole experience where you can be a master and spy on your targets.
You're an idiot. If you want to get the inside scoop on Disney, or even other media organizations, you should check out thatparkplace.com and subscribe to WDW Pro's YouTube channel. That'd be way easier, more accurate, and, less dumb.
Are you saying I won't get accurate information this way?
No, you can't.
Who'd have think?